Good morning. This is Professor Marsh again, and this is our first actual Getting Started unit, topic number 1. This will be coordinated with lesson plan number 1 and the number 1 PowerPoint slides in your course materials in Wolfden. If you do not have access to Wolfden and you're watching these videos and want to continue your training, I can arrange to send you a link to those materials. I have them on my computer, and I can send you a file which contains all of the lesson plans and all of the PowerPoint slides for the various lessons that we're going to have during this course. If you'd like to get started in terms of understanding a little bit more about the VITA Volunteers program, I'm going to suggest that you go to a form that is available in the IRS's website, and it's a very important form because it explains to the public what VITA is all about. And so if you go to www.irs.gov, and if you search for Form 3676B, and let's search for it again in another way, Form 3676, see what we get as far as that goes, and let's see what we can find here. So the IRS has a link for free tax preparation, free tax return preparation for qualifying taxpayers. And if you just type in the words in the search box, free tax return preparation for qualifying taxpayers, you will go to the lead page on that. And then about halfway down the page, you'll see a link that says before your visit, see publication 3676-B. Now, this is the publication that we have circulated throughout the community to try to draw prospective taxpayers, people who want us to help them file their returns. And this provides a list of the different types of returns that we prepare, and then the types of returns that we can't prepare through the VITA program that we're just not set up to handle. So we basically handle tax returns for low income and moderate income taxpayers up to about $60,000 a year. But if they have certain complicating features, such as a Schedule C that has a loss, in other words, an unincorporated business that has a loss, or if it has depreciation, or if it has the business use of a home, we're not training our volunteers how to prepare those returns. If there is a complicated Schedule D with a lot of capital gains and losses, that's really outside the scope of our preparation skills. If there is a Form SS5, a request for a Social Security number, we can't prepare those. If there's an 8606, a non-deductible IRA. If there's an 8814, the kiddie tax, that's a child who's taxed at the parent's tax rate. If there's a Form SSA to determination of worker status for purposes of federal employment taxes and income tax withholding, we can't prepare that. And you'll see that there's a couple of other things that we can't help with. There's also a very long list of what the taxpayer needs to bring, so you might want to familiarize yourself with that, looking at this form, what to bring, If there's married filing jointly, both spouses have to be present in order to review and ratify and sign the return appropriately. They have to bring a government-issued photo identification for themselves and for their spouse. A Social Security card or individual tax identification number documents, and that can be the actual Social Security card, or it could be one of the annual Social Security reporting forms that has the Social Security number on it. Then birth dates for each of the taxpayer's spouse, and any dependents. Copy of a previous year's tax return, unless they were a participant in the same VITA program, in which case it may already be loaded. So in any event, but a copy of last year's tax return, one way or the other, has to be provided. So if they're unsure, bring a paper copy. All forms W-2 and 1099, all information about letter 6419, the advanced child tax credit payment, form 1095 A, B, or C, the the Affordable Care Act statements, information regarding other income, information for all deductions, charitable contributions, credits, total paid to daycare provider and the daycare provider's tax ID number, for a direct deposit or refund, proof of a bank account and the bank's routing number, for prior year's returns, copies of income transcripts from the IRS and the state departments of revenue, if applicable. And notice 1444-C, your 2021 economic impact payment. So this form 3676B, advertising the free tax preparation services that we're providing, this is what we're going to do. So the benefit that the public gets, that the members of the public who take advantage of this service get, is that they get their taxes prepared for free, and many of these taxpayers are the type of taxpayers who are going to get a reasonably significant refund, or at least are going to be able to justify any advance refund payments that they received earlier in the year. So that's very important information, and you can get it at that section of irs.gov that we were previously at, the one that said free tax information for qualifying taxpayers. And then we also want to take a look at the VITA TCE main website and make sure that you've got your username and your password set up. And in that website, you're going to find a link to a number of Lincoln Learn tax lessons. And if you will take a look at the Lincoln Learn tax lessons, and you could find this at the Lincoln Learn website, and you've got a link to a number of things. You can see the what it says where you see click to see the content of each course. You can see that there are many links that pop up, and I'll post the link just so you can go to it directly. But the easiest way to get to it is to go to VITA TCE Central, which we already talked about how to do that in the welcome lecture. That's the Lincoln Learn certification website. And then if you'll go to the Lincoln Learn Taxes Lessons, that's a quick link to that. and then the first link that you see when you get to that next page, and up at the top of the page it says https://apps.irs.gov/app/VITA, and that's the page that's your link to a number of helpful resources. And the first one is this first link. Click here to see the content of each course. And if you click on that, and then if you go to either the basic menu or the advanced menu, and you click on Course Introduction Workout, you'll be getting to the correct workout. Now, in the materials that I'm going to also be posting in Wolf Den, I have a lesson plan for the course introduction and also some PowerPoint slides. So I will talk about some of these as we go through, but just keep in mind that those resources are also available to you. And all of these cover basically the same thing. So on the first part of the skills workout for the course introduction workout, you've got a couple of things going on here. The first page shows you the publication 4491, which we talked about in the welcome lecture. And so this also has links to publication 4491, which are your volunteer standards of conduct. And if you click on publication 4491 right now, you will see that there is basically a 12-page pop-up portion of the form publication 4491, and it tells you basically how to become a certified VITA TCE volunteer, and it also teaches you all of the volunteer standards of conduct. And so it explains how the course is structured, the training approach that I'll be following in leading this course, and then just some of the basic housekeeping things about making sure that privacy and confidentiality of taxpayers' information, which is protected by law, that you follow good practices to protect that. And then also, what are your other responsibilities for performing due diligence and making sure that the tax returns that you're assisting in preparing are properly prepared, how the return preparation process progresses, and what are the critical components, the resources that are available to assist you. And there are many, many resources, lots of publications, lots of explanations, lots of case studies that explain how to handle different aspects of federal tax responsibilities. And the also procedures for helping a taxpayer who suspects or perhaps knows that they've been a victim of identity theft. And then also, if you're going to take this even further and become a site coordinator for a VITA location, how to do that. So you can see that there are a number of publications listed on the first page of this pop-up, and a number of additional matters. But the first thing to learn is going to be the volunteer standards of conduct, basically our ethics training. And then we'll get into the tax law training, research skills, intake and interview quality review training, tax return preparation, and site coordinator training. So we'll go through all of this in some detail, but for right now, we will probably just kind of skip over this. So you can see, if you've ever wondered, I'm just kind of skipping through the pages here, but when you get to page 5, if you've ever wondered what to do with respect to identity theft, they have a procedure here for what to do about that, and what to do if you have lost some of your passwords and PIN numbers for filing taxes. There's some very helpful information about responsibilities as a volunteer. Take these seriously. For many of you, you're going to certify your ethics training at the end of this lesson, but just remember that it's important to refresh that training and to make sure that you keep the 6 standards, the volunteer standards, are maintained as you continue to do all of your work with the VITA program. So that's basically the pop-up that we have here on the first page. And let's go on to the next page of the workout. So on the second page of the workout, they review the intake, interview, and quality review sheet. And your first responsibility as a VITA volunteer is to make sure that you follow the intake, interview process, and quality review standards. And so you can find these in publication 5101 and also in publication 4961. And 4961 is the one that we're basically going to work with most today. But you can see those listed on page 2. They also list a form 13614C. That's the actual intake sheet from the taxpayer. That's the intake sheet for the interview process with the taxpayer when we have a new client come in to the VITA location. So that's very important. And then Form 6744, that's also listed. That is for you as the volunteer. Those are the tests and the retests. So that has all of the information about taking the various certification tests that you need to take in order to become a VITA volunteer. Next page is publication 4012. Publication 4012 provides job aids and reference materials, again, related to the Identity Theft Job Act, the scope of service, some of the frequent questions you'll get from taxpayers, the quality site requirements, and identity protection and victim assistance. So those are all important resources for you as you go through the volunteer VITA process, and things that you will refer to from time to time quite often. Training approach, this is page 4. The questions from Form 13614C to interview the taxpayers for filing status, dependency, credits, deductions, eligibility, validate the information, prepare the tax return. You've got a link, you've got a picture actually of publication 17, which is the Your Federal Income Tax. It's a guide, sort of a self-study guide for members of the general public to use in preparing their taxes. And it has been revised quite substantially from the 2021 version that you have pictured on this slide to the 2022 version, which is what we're going to be using in our work this spring. So moving to the next slide, slide 5, in the course introduction workout. You've also got publication form 6744. That is the volunteer assisters test and retest, which we just went through, I guess, before, as well as links to the various other publications. You can hit any of those links, and it'll take you straight to the booklets. I have previously recommended to you that you download a copy of the publication 4961 and also the publication 4012, or at least save a link somewhere where you can find it easily just to go directly to those publications. And during this course, as you get your certification, you're going to have to refer back to publication 5101 and publication 6744 on a regular basis. So you probably want to have those links copied as well. Okay, now on page 6 of your material here, in this, you're going to see quite a bit of information about the types of certification that are available. And let me just tell you our approach for this January term is that we will go through the volunteer standards of conduct, the intake, interview, and quality review. So we'll be going right down from the top through the middle of this process. And then I will do all of the advanced lessons. If you only want to do the basic certification, you certainly are welcome to do that. And as I do each lesson, if it is advanced and not part of the basic certification, I'll let you know that so that you don't waste your time studying things that you don't need to know. But if you're going to get the military certification, you're going to need to do the advanced and then the additional lessons. And there's only about 3 or 4 extra lessons for military certification. If you're going to do the international certification, you have to do the advanced and then do the international lesson. And there's only, I think, 1 additional lesson or maybe 2 for international. If you're going to get the Puerto Rico certification, then you can just do the basic, and you can do Puerto Rico level 1 or Puerto Rico level 2. And as I mentioned before, if you're going to take that training with me, you're going to be doing it in English because my Spanish is not nearly good enough to, I wonder if my English is good enough, but definitely my Spanish is not good enough to handle that material. So anyhow, those are the certifications. On to page 7. Page 7, they have the teacher training tools, and you certainly have access to the lesson plans and to the PowerPoint slides, and I'm happy to provide those to you who won't be able to see them on Wolf Den at Newberry College. So just let me know. Okay, then we get to some due diligence questions, and we're getting some exposure to the actual work that we'll do as a VITA volunteer. And so you'll see these due diligence questions, and I do want to encourage you to go through those carefully. These are not graded, so it's free, and they do correct you if you pick the wrong answer. So do go through all of those due diligence questions, and then when you get to the tax layer tutorial, enter. I don't know that you need to do the tax layer tutorial yet, but if you want to, you can go to the practice lab. If you don't have the universal password from your sign-in at VITA TCE, then contact me, and I'll try to get that for you from the spec relationship manager or from the person who is the existing site coordinator at the small VITA site here in Newberry. So, in any event, that's the basics. Now let's go ahead and get out of this, and I want you to go to another publication, which is publication 4961. And so go back to the IRS website and get to publication 4961, and you can just go to any of the IRS links that you already have. If you've got the one, say, for example, for volunteer training resources, and you see that on that page there are a number of links, or you can just go up to the top of the page where the search box is and type in publication 4961. Hit enter. And here is the second link. It's publication 4961, the VITA TCE Volunteer Standards of Conduct and Ethics Training. Now, this book explains the 6 volunteer standards of conduct, which I'll go through briefly. The first one is that you follow the quality site requirements of the VITA program. Okay, what are those quality site requirements? Well, we'll go through those, but they are the ones that you'll get your second certification regarding. Do not accept payment, do not ask for donations, do not accept refund payments for federal or state tax returns, that you've prepared for customers. So don't take any of that money from customers, even if they offer it, even if they offer you a $20 tip, don't take it. You're not allowed to. We're offering the public these free services, and so they are intended to be free. Certainly, the VITA program is supported by grants from the federal government. It is often supported by time and money from additional sponsoring institutions, whether it's Newberry College or in Newberry, the Literacy Council, YMCA, Goodwill, certain other nonprofit organizations that oftentimes will contribute to various VITA sites. We can't take money from customers. We're offering to provide these tax services for them for free, and it would be inconsistent with our mandate to accept any compensation for that work. And quite frankly, it's very, it'd be kind of destructive and kind of an insidious thing to allow into the VITA program. So we're just going to basically provide all these services for free to customers, do the best we can, and do it for the benefit of the public. Along that same lines, do not solicit business from taxpayers to help that you help, or use the information you gain about them, their information for any direct or indirect personal benefit for you or other specific individuals, family members, friends, that sort of thing. Don't use this as a networking, way to get business. Don't use any of their information. It is legally protected by law. If you disclose taxpayer information, it is a crime. And so you may have heard recently there was a controversy about Donald Trump's tax information, and the House of Representatives investigating January 6th actually had to go to the Supreme Court in order to get his tax information released to them, which they said they needed for their investigation, but which they didn't use for their investigation. They just released in order to embarrass him. That's legally very suspect. And we have a voluntary compliance system with the Internal Revenue Service. They are entrusted with a lot of our most secret information. And in return for that secret information, they have an obligation to keep it secret. And so with the exception of very unusual and rare court orders, that information does remain secret. When it is leaked to the media, when it's leaked to the public, it's really a breach of that trust that taxpayers have in their tax system. And so do not use that information to try to help somebody sell insurance to people you think need insurance or any of that. If you're in this program, you're here to help the taxpayers and not really to do any other business with them. Volunteer standard of conduct number 4 is to not knowingly prepare false returns. That goes back to the 10 Commandments. Don't lie on a tax return. That also is a federal crime. Number 5, do not engage in criminal, infamous, dishonest, notoriously disgraceful conduct or any other conduct considered to have a negative effect on the VITA TCE program. So be smart and don't do anything if you have sense that there might be something controversial with what a taxpayer is asking you to do, or somebody else you're working with at the VITA site, take it up with your site coordinator, or if that's not effective, take it up with the IRS contact for the area. And number 6, treat all taxpayers in a professional, courteous, and respectful manner, and that's very important. Don't talk down to them. Meet them where they are. You do the best that you can to help taxpayers who have trouble communicating with you to get their tax information in a way that it's useful, so that they can have a complete and accurate tax return. And of course, there are important sanctions if you fail to comply with these standards, including potentially removal from the VITA program. There's a blacklist of people who are not allowed to participate because of previous misconduct, and it even could lead to suspension from the right to practice certain professions, or maybe even criminal prosecution. So just keep in mind that all tax information you receive from taxpayers in your capacity as a volunteer is strictly confidential and should not under any circumstances be disclosed to unauthorized people. All right, so at the end of this publication, after you go through all of the training and all the, you'll see all the quality standard requirements. They're all in the various pages. This publication is about 40 pages long. And when you get through the technical material and all of the case studies, you get to some questions. And there are some questions that are exercises, practice exercises, that they will give you the answers to. Those begin on page 18. And after you do the practice exercises, then you'll probably want to, at that point, go ahead and take the exam itself. And the exam is the last few pages of the materials. And the test itself begins on page 28. It's just 10 questions. If you studied this well, and I would think that you'd want to spend at least an hour with this publication before taking the test. But if you want to, you can go back and forth between the questions and the material and can actually find the answers to all of the questions in the previous 27 pages of the materials. And so once you've answered all 10 questions, then go back to your Link and Learn, the mothership home site, VITA TCE Central, sign in. The volunteer standard of conduct test will pop up. Take the test, pass it, and if for some reason you don't pass it, you have to get 8 out of 10 correct to pass it. If you don't for some reason, then go back and study it some more. Maybe take a few more hours to look through it more carefully. Look at the retest materials that follow the test materials. Make sure that you've completely answered the retest materials, and then go back and try the retest. So anyhow, your first real assignment for this class is to go and pass the volunteer standard of conduct test. You don't have to do it. If you don't feel comfortable taking the test now, we can continue the training and take it later, but I would like to talk with you specifically about that if that's your decision. But I think for next time, you should go ahead and take and pass that test unless you contact me and we work out a way to do it otherwise. So with that, have a great day, and we'll talk with you soon. We'll be back for the second technical video. That'll be intake, interview, and quality review, and I'll be posting that shortly. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.